I believe that we are live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are now live. Hello, everyone.
Welcome back.
We are live in Austin, Texas. And we get ready for another Grand Prix. It is a pleasure to have you here again, once again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. Good to have you along here today. We are just about to get started here in COTA. 5 minutes to go. All the drivers are already on the grid. I am Gonzalo. Thank you for being here with me. We are now beginning the race and broadcasts. Here we go. Here we go. And they are just showing the F1 intro at the moment. And we will be on the way very soon with the warm-up lap. I will have to apologize in advance. I actually ordered a pizza, which is arriving shortly in a few minutes to my we are here in COTA. It is a very nice day. And here we go then for the race day here in Austin, Texas for the United States Grand Prix at COTA. Race 19 out of 24. We have had a Grand Prix here in Austin every year since 2012, except for 2020 due to COVID, as we all know. Charles Leclerc holds the lap record of a 1 minute 36.169 set in 2019 on this 5.513 kilometer long circuit with 11 turns to the left and 8 to the right. For today, we've got the C4, C3 and C1 tires being used. There are 2 DRS zones, 1 at the exit of turn 11 and 1 on the start-finish straight. Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher hold the most number of pole positions here with a joint record of 4 pole positions each. But is the British driver with the most wins here at 6 wins, more than any other driver. Looking at the starting grid, we've got Isaac Hadjar in 20th, not having set a time in qualifying, followed by Lance Stroll in 19th. Up next in 18th place, we've got Alexander Albon, surely disappointed with that qualifying. Alongside him, Esteban Ocon, followed by Gabriel Bortoleto in 16th and Franco Colapinto in 15th. We all know that he needs a good race today if he wants to impress and keep his seat. His teammate Pierre Gasly in 14th place and Yuki Tsunoda in 13th place, followed by Liam Lawson in 12th and Hulkenberg in 11th. He had an amazing qualifying for the sprint race in 4th, but we all know how that ended up. Fernando Alonso, the oldest driver on the grid, qualified in 10th place, and Carlos Sainz, the smooth operator, in 9th, followed by Ollie Behrman and the rookie Kimi Antonelli in 7th place. Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, is in 6th place at the moment. He surely will want to end the race up a bit higher. Next to him is Lewis Hamilton in 5th place, followed by George Russell in 4th and Charles Leclerc. George Russell having just signed a new contract with Mercedes. And Lando Norris in 2nd place, whilst Max Verstappen is our pole sitter. We all know how hard he's going to fight to keep that pole position and make the McLaren's lives harder. But we are looking good and set for an amazing race. The weekend attendance is sold out here at the United States Grand Prix, which I believe it is close to 500,000 people on the stands. The drivers are just gearing up for their formation laps. Still no green lights just yet. We have just under a minute to go and we will be underway very, very shortly. So initially, my thoughts and predictions, I believe that Max Verstappen will keep the lead off turn one. We all know how much he will defend
just yet. We have just under
and
a minute to go, and we will
want to keep that pole position
very shortly.
not letting anyone have an inch of space ahead of him. Lando Norris needs a good start. We all saw how bad of a start he had at the beginning of that sprint race. It is something that he will surely have worked on overnight with his engineers. The start here is quite tricky given that it's an uphill start and it is not the easiest to get away with.
Lando Norris needs a good start. We all saw how bad of a start he had.
So here we go. The drivers are about to set off on their formation laps, and we are nearly on the way to get this race going. Once again, I do have a Peter coming, so apologies for that. We will have to bear with me having a munch while we have this race day. Peter is a little bit delayed, but unfortunately, it will come at some point in the race.
Apologies for that. We will have to bear with me having a munch while we have this race day. Peter is a little bit delayed, but unfortunately, it will come at some point.
Here we go. So two possible strategies here today. The one stop for those who start on the medium tires, which is most of the grid, followed by a set of hard tires given in a normal race scenario. For those who start on the softs, they are compromising or
so two possible
I should
strategies
say,
here today. The one
opting for a two-stop strategy, which is a soft, medium, soft, I believe, or maybe a soft, medium, medium. We do have a couple of outliers in the back of the grid. Ocon, Albon, and Hadjar all starting on brand new hards. Everyone is starting on new tires except for Charles Leclerc, who is on 3-lap-old tires. So he will not have that much. He will not have the advantage of a brand new set as he probably would have wanted. But let's see how it goes. The Ferraris seem to be doing well here this week. Lewis Hamilton with a nice recovery drive in the sprint race. And the two Ferraris up in 5th and 6th place. So let's see. Max Verstappen now just backing up the pack as they get to turns 16. He will not want to sit in the grid for too long. And the two Ferraris up in 5th and 6th place. So let's see. Max Verstappen now just backing up the pack as they get to turns 16. So here we go. Max Verstappen and Lando Norris coming up to the second corner now. And my time here is a little bit delayed, so apologies. Let me just refresh my live timing. We do not want this to be delayed. We want it to be as accurate as we can. So just letting the stream catch up with itself in terms of the telemetry, and I believe we are looking good now. Yes, Alonso coming up the back of the grid. It is more or less correct. So here we go then. We are getting ready for the start of this. In terms of the telemetry, and I believe we are looking good now. Yes, Alonso coming up the back of the grid. It is more or less correct. So here we go then. We are getting ready for the start of this. In terms of the telemetry, and here we go.
Alonso coming up to the back of the grid. It is more or less.
So Isaac Hadjar being the last one to line up on the grid, and he is now there and ready to go. So here we go. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and they're off. 1,000 horsepower going all the way up the hill into turn 1. Max Verstappen moves over to the left to cover from Lando Norris. Lando Norris has a decent start, but look at that. Charles Leclerc is coming right alongside him, and Lewis Hamilton also alongside Piastri. Now they go down the hill. Everyone seems to be going through turn 1 unscathed at the moment. No issues whatsoever. Charles Leclerc gains 1 position. Lando Norris loses 1 position. Lewis Hamilton and Oscar Piastri both gaining 1 position, and George Russell losing out 2 positions. Kimi Antonelli stays where he started, and Nico Hulkenberg gaining 1 position, as well as Yuki Tsunoda gaining 2 positions. Look at that. What a good job from him. Franco Colapinto losing positions. Bortoleto as well as Albon all losing positions. Fernando Alonso losing 2 positions as well. Now off they go from turn 11. Albon going onto the grass at the exit of turn 11. Now they're all going down that back straight at 325 kilometers per hour. Max Verstappen pulling a gap already over 1.1 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Meanwhile, Charles Leclerc is chasing him and defending from Lando Norris. Now we have a yellow flag, and Albon is off. He is moving slowly and triggered a yellow flag. Let's see what happened. I'm not sure what happened. I believe he might have had contact with someone, but Albon is moving slow. So I wonder if he has lost a front wing or has had contact with someone that caused him some damage to move slow. But meanwhile, Max Verstappen is moving ahead and contact with someone, but Albon is and going nicely, trying to pull a gap on the rest of the field. So look at that. Max Verstappen, apologies, with a 1.7 second lead ahead of Charles Leclerc, and Lando Norris is 6 steps behind Charles Leclerc. So Max pulling a little bit of a gap. He is now in safe distance and outside of the DRS, which is so crucial, especially coming off that back straight. He is just cruising, so Max Verstappen needs to just control the pace, make sure that his tires don't get too worn out, and he should be fine. Lewis Hamilton making it to 4th position. He has had a great start. Same for Oscar Piastri. He's had a decent start, getting 1 position off the lead and taking that position from George Russell, the Brit, losing out at the start. And now, here we go. Ollie Bearman under pressure from Carlos Sainz, making it to 4th position. Now, Oscar Piastri setting the second fastest sector, the fastest sector 2 of this race at the moment. And look at that. Carlos Sainz going for a dive bomb on Ollie Bearman at the hairpin of turn 15, getting that position. The young rookie missing out. Now, Oscar Piastri. So Charles Leclerc able to gain a position despite being on worn tires, and Lando Norris cannot seem to overtake him once again. Although he does have DRS and Charles Leclerc does not, this can prove to be a bit hairy for Charles Leclerc, as he will be vulnerable from a attack from Lando Norris. Max Verstappen setting the fastest lap of 1 minute 40.2. He is edging away from the field ever more, now sitting a gap at 1.9 seconds, and the rest of the field not having a response on these initial laps for him. So on board with George Russell chasing Oscar Piastri. We all know how tricky it is. Ooh, and George Russell having a little bit of a slide there, and we all know how tricky it is to follow a car in front at sector 1 with the S's. The cars lose a lot of downforce, and that can be very, very tricky. Alexander Albon seems to have got going again, so perhaps with minor damage and getting away with it. We're still waiting to see what exactly happened. Now, as we see Lando Norris attacking Charles Leclerc, they're very close. They're side by side at the moment, coming off into turn 13. Charles Leclerc trying to hold on as much as he can, but
we're still waiting to see what
Lando
exactly
Norris
happened.
is
Now, as we see Lando Norris attacking Charles Leclerc,
still in third
very
place.
close, side by side at the moment, coming off into turn 13. Charles Leclerc trying to hold on.
So Albon, so we got written confirmation now that Albon and Bortoleto had a collision, but no investigation for the time being. They will just class that as a racing incident, which is very common to see at the start of the race. So at the front, Max Verstappen keeps pulling a gap, now at 2.4 seconds. I mean, this battle with Lando Norris, with Charles Leclerc, is benefiting Verstappen a lot and hurting Lando Norris even more. And now, but Lando Norris needs to be careful because Hamilton is only 3 tenths away from Lando Norris. So we could see some Ferrari team play going on, and that could put Lando Norris at risk. So let's see what will happen, as there is currently 2 Ferraris fighting 1 McLaren. Oscar Piastri a bit detached from them. He's currently outside of the DRS from Lewis Hamilton and unable to keep up with them, it seems. Though he needs to be careful because he's got 2 Mercedes chasing him that are approaching within his DRS zone. So Lando Norris goes again for another attack at the end of the back straight, unsuccessfully getting over Leclerc, but that might compromise him on his run into the hairpin of turn 15. Leclerc going tight and holding that position, but now he has to be careful with the switchback. Lando Norris has got the fresher tires and he has got the better grip out of the 2. So Charles Leclerc under a lot of pressure, so he needs definitely to be careful from an attack behind. Lando definitely has more pace than Charles Leclerc, but catching is one thing, passing is another, ladies and gentlemen. And at the moment, it is the Monegasque in front of the Brit driver. So going into turn 1, Lando Norris unable to throw a lunge onto the inside of Charles Leclerc, and they keep fighting and fighting and fighting. So let's see how it goes. And Max Verstappen again setting a new fastest lap of a 1:39.7. So Max Verstappen is very much not hanging around. The lead is now 3.1 seconds away from the rest of the field. And yeah, he is not bothered about tire wear whatsoever. So he is just going hell for leather and trying to pull as much of a gap as he can. He does have brand new used tires, or he did at the beginning of the race. Now they are obviously 4 to 5 laps old. But we're having a look at Lando Norris. He's still not close enough for a move against Charles Leclerc. It seems like Lando Norris is taking his time. He does have a championship to think about after all, whereas Charles Leclerc does not either from the constructor's side or the driver's side. So there is no quote-unquote consequences for Charles Leclerc, but it's full consequences for Lando Norris if he is not careful. He is sitting in a good position ahead of his teammates, and he's doing somewhat exactly what he needs to do. He will gain ground on his teammate, but we cannot forget that Max Verstappen is still within contention for this Drivers' Championship this season. He is, I believe, only 30-something points away from Oscar Piastri, and with a win here today, he will edge even closer to that top spot, which could see the Dutch driver win his 5th championship. So let's see how the race develops. And with time, we've got a little fight happening here, whereas Charles Leclerc is putting up a fight against Lando Norris, and by not overtaking by not overtaking Leclerc, apologies, he is becoming vulnerable. And whereas Charles Leclerc is putting up a fight and under threat from Lewis Hamilton behind, who is now within his DRS range. So Lewis Hamilton on the attack and the hunt against Lando Norris. Currently the distance is 7 tenths of a second. So now we're just having a look at a replay of the race start here today.
Lewis Hamilton behind.
So both Norris and Verstappen having a decent getaway, but Verstappen having a better getaway. And by them moving over to the left-hand side, they left the door open for Charles Leclerc to come around the outside on the right. So by trying to attack and get tucked up behind Verstappen, Lando Norris opened the door for a Ferrari of Charles Leclerc to attack him. And we're just seeing now live on screen Kimi Antonelli has spun out. I'm not sure if there was contact or if he had just lost the back end and dropped it coming out of turn 15. I'm sure they will show a replay of that very soon. But what a great start he had. What a great start we had. And there was contact from George Russell going into the back of Oscar Piastri. Oh, and now we've got another retirement, Carlos Sainz. Wow, approaching the end of the racetrack between turns 19 and 20. Apologies. Oh, what a shame for the smooth operator. I don't believe there was any contact. I think it's just another failure. Now we've got VSC deployed. VSC deployed. Carlos Sainz parked it in a nice spot where there's an opening on the track so that the marshals can recover that vehicle safely. But
I think it's just another.
it is still so unfortunate for him. He's been riddled with issues and more issues and more issues on reliability and on the track so that the marshals can. So we're just having a look here of so Sainz. So we're just getting a replay here on screen of what happened between. It was actually Sainz and Antonelli had a contact that made Antonelli spin. So Sainz went for a move down into turn 15. But Antonelli taking the racing line meant that he shut the door on Carlos Sainz, and I believe that Sainz probably had some suspension damage, and that was the end of his race. Just having a look here.
Sainz went for a move down into turn 15.
Yeah,
but Antonelli taking the racing line meant that
Sainz, he wasn't really alongside Antonelli for that kind of move. He came from behind. So
that was the end of
I kind of lean more onto blaming it on Carlos Sainz a little bit there. I think he has to be a little bit more patient there and not go for such a reckless move. So yeah, Carlos Sainz and Antonelli out of. No, Antonelli's still in the running, but he's effectively out. He's in 19th, and he's got no patience there. He's got really no hope of really getting any results, if I'm honest. So Alexander Albon coming into the pit lanes, getting off the hards and going onto the mediums, a brand new set of mediums.
No, Antonelli's still in the running, but he's effectively
so
he's in 19th.
Hopefully he will surely want to benefit of those fresh tires. We're just having a look here of what happened with Albon coming off turn.
Alexander Albon coming into the pit lanes,
coming into turn 12. He had contact with one of the Saubers, but he spun off. And that did not do him any favors. So those hards were out of 7 laps only, and now it's gone onto the mediums.
Coming off turn. Alexander Albon coming into the pit lanes,
coming into turn 12. He had contact with one of the Saubers, but he spun off. And that did not do him any favors. So those hards were out. So just having a look here on the strategies, Ferrari could have perhaps boxed Charles Leclerc for a set of soft, but they opted to not do it. And so just wonder if that will hurt Charles Leclerc in the long run. We will wait and see.
Charles Leclerc for
a
set of soft, but they opted to not do it.
So yep, virtual safety cars still out. They're clearing some debris on the track. As it stands, the qualification, Max Verstappen in first place where he started the race. Now the VSC is coming to an end, but we got Charles Leclerc in second, Lando Norris in third, missing out at the start. Lewis Hamilton fourth, Piastri in fifth place. So now we've got the green flag. Off goes Max Verstappen, leading the rest of the field. The order remaining unchanged for the time being. And Max Verstappen away in the lead with 2.8 second leads at the moment, followed by Charles Leclerc. So now we've got the green flag. Off goes Max Verstappen, leading the rest of the field. The order remaining unchanged. So Lando Norris under 1 second from 2.8 second lead. Lewis Hamilton's lead here. So now we've got the green flag. Off goes Max Verstappen leading. Sorry, I'm just moderating some stream. So Lando Norris aspects under 1 second. Apologies. From 2.8 second lead. Lewis Hamilton's lead here. And here we go. Sorry, I'm just moderating some stream. So Lando Norris aspects under 1 second. Apologies. From 2.8 second lead. Lewis Hamilton's lead here. And here we go. You can see Carlos Sainz walking back to the pit lane. He will surely feel like it's a race to forget, to be honest. Another one. I initially thought that it was reliability issues once again, as he has suffered all season long, but no, it was a racing collision. So off we go then. Lap 10. The order still pretty much unchanged. My impressions so far of this Grand Prix, I'm very pleased with Yuki Tsunoda gaining 6 positions since the start of the race, currently sitting in 7th place. Amazing. That is exactly what he needed, if we are to be honest. So pretty much unchanged. My impressions so far of this Grand Prix, I'm very pleased with Yuki Tsunoda gaining go. Let's hope that since the start of the race, currently sitting. Let's hope that he can continue to have a good race. And Oscar Piastri complaining about the left front, saying that he does not feel great or look great. So, which is, like they're saying on the broadcast, a bit unusual because it is usually the right side that gets punished the most. So Kimi Antonelli now setting the fastest lap on his mediums with a 1:38.8. He is running relatively in clean air, currently 7 seconds away from the rest of the field, and only with Albon behind him to worry about. So Kimi Antonelli now setting the fastest lap. At the moment, not many battles going on. We see Hamilton chasing Norris still, and Hamilton is 1.5 seconds away. So Norris is not in DRS range, and now McLaren's saying that it looks like a plan B. I wonder what that plan B means. It's probably talking a two stops. We see Hamilton chasing Norris still, and there is no indication of when that stop will be, but a lot of drivers complaining about the wear on the tires, and as such, we will see what is going to happen. As I mentioned earlier, I will need to get my pizza, and my pizza has just arrived, so I will be right back, guys. Apologies. A lot of drivers complaining about the wear on the tires, and as such, we will see what is going to happen. As I mentioned earlier, I will need to get my pizza, and my pizza has just arrived, so I will be right back, guys. Apologies. A lot of drivers complaining about the wear on the tires, and as such, we will see what is going to happen. As I mentioned earlier, I will need to get my pizza, and my pizza has just arrived, so I will be right back, guys. Apologies. A lot of drivers complaining about the wear on the tires, and as such, we will see
As I mentioned earlier, I will need to get my pizza as just arrived, so I will be right back, guys. Apologies. As I mentioned earlier, I will need to get my pizza as just arrived, so I will be right back, guys. Apologies.
All right, we are back, everyone. I'm gonna have my face cam switched off while I eat. I don't think anyone wants to see that to be honest. But yes, in case you are wondering, I got a meteor from Domino's with some fries and a Coke and a dessert, which is saved downstairs for me. I'm gonna have my face cam switched off while I eat. I've not missed out on much, it seems, to see that, apart from the fact that Max Verstappen has pulled out another few seconds in the lead, and he's now at 5 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. And a Coke and a dessert, which is saved downstairs for me. I'm gonna have my no one's catching him, are they? Switched off while I eat. I've not missed out on much, it seems, to see that, apart from the fact that Max Verstappen has pulled out another few seconds in the lead, and he's now at 5 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Bortoleto into the pits, so he's coming off those softs, and I would assume going on to mediums. No one's catching him, are they? Or maybe even a hard set. Apart from the fact that Max Verstappen has pulled out another few seconds in the lead, and he's now at 5 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Bortoleto into the pits, so he's coming off those softs. Lando Norris on the attack once again against Charles Leclerc, but unable to pass him again. Maybe even a hard set. Trying to go for a switch back on the outside, but Charles Leclerc defending well and shutting the door on Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc defending very well. Very tough, but very fair. Very good to see. So Charles Leclerc still in second place, and Lando Norris unable to pass him. On the outside, but Charles Leclerc defending well and shutting the door on Lando Norris. Very good defensive driving from Charles Leclerc. Very tough and very fair too. Very good to see. So Charles absolute defensive masterclass perfection from Charles Leclerc. What a great display of defensive driving. Shutting the door on Lando Norris. Very good defensive driving from Charles Leclerc. Very tough and very fair too. All of this is helping Max Verstappen even more. He's now 6.4 seconds in the lead and alone, completely in his own race. It is interesting. So Max Verstappen checked out and is now in his own race. Even more. He's now 6.4 seconds in the lead and alone, completely in Lewis Hamilton back into play for P3. It is interesting. Lando Norris has got a lap time deleted, so is now going outside of track limits and getting warnings for it. He needs to watch out. Lewis Hamilton back into play for P3. It is interesting. Lando Norris, so lap time deleted. So Leclerc did not. Lando Norris did not attack Leclerc. Sorry, on the back straight. He needs to watch out. Potentially harvesting energy for another attack next lap. Lando Norris, so lap time deleted. Leclerc did not. Lando Norris did not attack Leclerc. Sorry, on the back straight. He needs to watch out. Potentially harvesting energy for another attack next lap. Leclerc did not. Lando Norris did not attack Leclerc. Sorry, on the back straight. Potentially harvesting energy for another attack. So interesting. Gabriel Bortoleto not really. Next lap. Well, now we're going to see him going on to his first flying lap since he pitted. Apologies. So interesting. Gabriel Bortoleto. Let's have a look at what happens with Gabriel Bortoleto's times. Well, now we're going to see him as he has now pitted and he's on a fresh set of mediums. So Lando Norris and Leclerc still fighting, but Charles Leclerc staying ahead for the time being. So interesting. Let's have a look at what happens with Gabriel Bortoleto's times. Well, now we're going to see him as he has now pitted and he's on a fresh set of mediums. So Lando Norris and Leclerc still fighting, but Charles Leclerc staying ahead for the time being. Let's have a look at what happened with Gabriel Bortolett. I'm just going to put on the Sky commentary for you guys whilst I eat. So Lando Norris and Leclerc still fighting, but Charles Leclerc staying ahead for the time being.
Once again, they pulled away from Lewis Hamilton when they're not squabbling. Lando desperately needs to get this done for his championship points today. And yeah, just that extra 4 meters of grip and confidence around the outside of turn 1 put Leclerc into play here. And it's really helped Max Verstappen out beautifully up front. He must be coasting out there, looking after his tyres so nicely.
Well, he needs and he wants, I'm sure, to get that second place. The plus side for Norris is he's still 2 places clear of his teammate, who is the championship leader. Once again, the rivals, Oscar Piastri's rivals, will be taking more points than him if it stays this way throughout the race. Norris a bit too far back once again, certainly to make a move. Hamilton is right there, keeping a watching brief, and this is like a patient, jabbing, cat and mouse game, sparring game between the protagonists out there, as Albon now closing up on Isaac Hadjar, who really is struggling on those hard tyres.
So McLaren need it's 21 seconds for a stop. They can't do that at the moment. That would put them right back in behind Nico Hülkenberg in 9th. So they can't pit Norris and try to undercut, use the fresh tyres, and so he's got to carry on. There's just not a window to drop him into. They all have to carry on for the time being.
There is a window for Leclerc. If he wanted to pit now, he'd come out ahead of Fernando Alonso and
behind Hülkenberg, as I said, same with Norris, and Beerman, Tsunoda. You don't want to drop into that squabble.
That's very true. Albon on Hadjar, the squabble continues, as you can see on the left-hand side. Round the outside goes Alex Albon, trying to do what Sebastian Vettel did to Kevin Magnussen here a few years ago, but not succeeding on this particular lap. Getting very frustrated, I'm sure, is Alex Albon, who has pitted in this race. He and Gabriel Bortoletto, the only 2 that have pitted so far. And what can Lando Norris do once again to try and get past Charles Leclerc? He's going to have a go, I think, here. He's within half a second. So, those tyres are looking ever more horrible on that left-hand side as the DRS is open now. 21 kilometres an hour of extra speed. Now he's gaining. Leclerc's going to force him wide. This time around, Lando Norris is wheel-to-wheel, but Leclerc can go deeper into the corner. The switchback didn't work there. Norris tries to go round the outside. Looking good for him, but Leclerc absolutely closes the door. Slam shut, says you ain't coming in.
And that's another track limits infringement for Lando Norris then. He's really under pressure now on that. So that's his 3rd one for Norris, because he had to take avoiding action, but it was still track limits. He wasn't left a whole lot of racing space out there, but he's got to keep trying something.
Absolutely. 3 track limit warnings there for Lando Norris, who I dare say wouldn't mind a change of wind direction, because that tailwind down the back straight is probably making the DRS just that little bit less effective here this afternoon.
So Norris has been told to pit to overtake. Is it another bluff by McLaren, or is he going to pit at the end of this lap?
Well, the undercut is certainly worth something here if you're going onto the medium tyre. If you're going onto the hard, forget it. They take a long time to warm up. So, Ted Kravitz, do you see any activity down in the pit lane?
I see one mechanic having a look at a wheel gun, and that's it. They're about 6 laps too early, and especially if they're all trying to extend the medium time because they don't want to go onto the hard. This would be a bit of a weird one, but we've seen other things. Just by the way, while I'm on Crofty, I've asked McLaren what's going on with Oscar Piastri's pace. Just seems so slow compared to Norris. The answer, he is saving his tyres, trying to keep his tyres alive with the issues we've heard he's had with the front. But that gives us some answer as to what happened to Oscar's pace. Still no mechanics in the McLaren pit box.
Less than a car's length between Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris at turn 12, but once again, Lando Norris has to stay in third place. Lance Stroll is the one that's making moves. Another place up for him. He's currently running 12th. He's got past Pierre Gasly on this lap. So was that a bluff? Pit to overtake. They'll be running out of the garages now.
Stay out, he's been told now. Stay out. But the double issue here, the double jeopardy for McLaren is the pace of that struggling Ferrari on those soft tyres is meaning it means they're not getting the gap behind that they need, that McLaren need to slot him into.
Antonelli, another overtake, up into 15th. Esteban Ocon has been cleared. Isaac Hadjar's been cleared. They're on the hard tyre. Antonelli's got Colapinto up next.
Warning flag then. 3 strikes for Lando Norris. Another strike, and it's a 5-second penalty. That's an awful long way to go without running off the track here. And Charles Leclerc will be one of the first to know that after you all at home.
It's a struggle for Lando Norris out there since he was passed by Charles Leclerc at Turn 1 on the opening lap. Turn 1 has not been his friend so far this weekend. Now, he is way closer to Charles Leclerc on this occasion than he has been all race long. The Ferrari has been hanging on to that second place. Now, under 4 tenths between Leclerc and Norris when the DRS opens. This time he'll get alongside Shawley. He's going wheel to wheel. He's gone ahead. Charles Leclerc has to settle for third place as they go through turn 12 on lap 21. He's finally, Lando Norris, got the job done.
And he knew he had to stay in track limits when he got there, and he did. He was super cautious with Lando. But now, once again, then it all looks a bit wide, but he should be able to scamper off down the road now, Lando Norris, and use the pace he's got in those tyres.
I know you're busy. We just had off third strike, track limits, turn 13. We think you were pushed off. We had a black and white flag, so be careful. I know.
Yeah. We have to tell you, we know you don't want to hear it, but just so you know, I think is that message there. DRS and Charles Leclerc, of course, down that main straight, but Lando Norris has got better pace, and now he's free. He's only got near enough 11 seconds between himself and Max Verstappen to try and close the gap.
Yeah, but Lando needs a tremendous first sector here to get out of the DRS, out of risk of that Ferrari just opening its rear wing and coming back at him with an action replay in reverse.
14 points the gap between Piastri and Norris, 40 points the gap between Piastri and Verstappen if it stays this way between now and the checkered flag. And that then starts to prey on the mind of even the calmest, coolest, most level-headed championship leader.
Now Ferrari might be thinking of letting Lewis Hamilton through. He's on the medium compound tyres. It won't be long before he's saying, look, he's holding me up. I need to get past him. Well, this is going to be it. He's going to do it for himself, isn't he? But Charles Leclerc's not going to make that easy, is he?
Well, he's not.
At all.
He's not making it easy in the slightest. The switcheroo from Lewis Hamilton. Leclerc forces him wide. They almost make contact. The two Ferraris scrapping away just like they were in the sprint race yesterday when Hamilton did manage to get past on this occasion. It hasn't happened yet, but let's try the old switchback once more, and not to be done. Ferrari, no podium finishes in the last 5 races. They're running in the podium at the moment, and they're almost running each other off the road.
Yeah, they're going to pit Leclerc. That was silly holding Lewis up on that lap like that. So they're pitting him, which will give him a lap extra over Lewis on the fresh tyres. This will also catch McLaren's attention because he'll come out on fresh tyres and he'll be faster than Norris again. McLaren have to pit Norris right now
to cover him, or they just go longer and think a tyre offset at the end helps him.
Yeah, but of course they've got to go on to soft tyres, haven't they, McLaren? Whereas he's now got the mediums on that he'll be able to run to the end of the Grand Prix. So that's quite smart. This is working out well for Ferrari. But how much pace has Lando Norris got to stretch out this part of this phase of the Grand Prix? 10.
And because Leclerc started on the soft, it's a brand new medium, Martin. He's just put on, so he's going to be as quick as lightning, isn't he, out there? No response from McLaren yet.
Lewis Hamilton's just set the fastest first sector. Now he's been freed up and has a bit of clear air ahead of him. So the first of the top 3 pitted. Charles Leclerc. Now let's see who follows him in, and if anyone follows him in. Zach Brown, CEO of McLaren, watching on from the pit wall. Well, it's as you were for Lando Norris. If he'd have stayed ahead of Charles Leclerc at the start, could have been a lot easier afternoon for him, Zach.
Yeah, that was a bit of hard work there, so glad we cleared him, but let's see how our pace is now.
What's the feedback from Oscar, Zach? He's obviously struggling a little bit.
Yeah, he just hasn't had the pace this weekend that Lando's had, so I think what you see is what you got there, and Lando will see if there's any more pace, trying to figure out what our tire strategy and sequence is here.
Zach, you are one of the chirpiest, most cheeriest people I've ever come across, not just in Formula One, but has this been a bit of a depressing weekend for you?
No, it's been a tough weekend, but not depressing. Tough weekend, you're going to have them, but long way to go. P2, P4 at the moment, so let's see how we finish.
Zach, thanks ever so much. We're on board with Lewis Hamilton running in third place in Austin.
He's got so little grip in that Ferrari at the moment on those tyres, Lewis Hamilton. He's going nicely, don't get me wrong, but you could just tell how long he has to wait on the apexes of the corners before he can get back on the programme.
9 podium finishes here in Austin for Lewis Hamilton. 10th would be his first podium finish for Ferrari in his 19th Grand Prix start for Ferrari. Was it not Didier Pironi all those years ago? He needed 19 races to score his first podium for the team. He won the San Marino Grand Prix in 1982. That's the longest run by any Ferrari driver before securing a Grand Prix podium. Could history be about to repeat itself and Lewis Hamilton stand on the podium for a first time as a Ferrari driver? He, of course, does have to pit again.
I think Leclerc's babysitting his fresh tyres. We're not seeing stunning sector times, and nor should we really, otherwise it'll take too much life out of them. He needs to bring those new tyres in to coax them to the end of the Grand Prix, does Charles Leclerc. But the telling point for him is he will catch Hulkenberg, Veerman and Tsunoda relatively quickly.
He kind of wants to catch them, Martin, just as they think it's about time to pit.
Yeah.
But when you start on the soft tyre and they're on the mediums, that is easier said than done. Because you're going to have to go a lot slower than you possibly want to do. And that's the trouble with a two-stop strategy. It might enable you to push more, but if overtaking is that much more difficult today, then hanging it out for a one-stopper and keeping track position might be the way forward. We're on board with car 23, who is having to make his way through the field. Alex Albon, as Esteban Ocon is the next car ahead of him. No, he doesn't, because Ocon's in the pits.
It's nice when you see a car peel off in front of you, you could really do with getting rid of. But the flip side of that is coming down the pit straight and seeing a car that you thought you were ahead of emerge in front of you. And when you're sitting in the pit lane or trundling down the pit lane and they're flat out down the pit straight, you just feel like you're being left behind.
Ocon then will come out right at...
But the flip side of that is coming down the pit straight and seeing...
Alright everyone, I am back. Thank you for that. I hope that wasn't too bad, and thank you for staying tuned in. Oh, I needed that. Yeah, so my driver was actually delayed because he said his software for the maps wasn't working, whatever that means, in 2025. But nevertheless, we are back. Had some food, and now ready to go. Oh, I needed that. Yeah, so my driver was actually... So we are on lap 26 out of 56. Max Verstappen still in the lead very comfortably, 11 seconds ahead of Lando Norris in second. Completely running his own race. No trouble whatsoever for him. He just needs to manage his tires, manage his pace. The team just needs to do a somewhat decent pit stop to ensure that he will still come out in the lead without any issues whatsoever. We saw Lando Norris finally get past Charles Leclerc, who has then since pitted. And now currently we got Lando Norris still in second place, Lewis Hamilton in third, Oscar Piastri in fourth, George Russell in fifth, and Yuki Tsunoda in sixth position. However, all of them on used mediums, where Charles Leclerc is the only one of the front runners who has pitted. and gone on to brand new mediums.
Still in second place. Lewis Hamilton in third. Oscar Piastri in fourth.
Excuse me, just had a bit of a cough.
And Yuki Tsunoda in
So here we go. We are on board with Charles Leclerc at the moment as he overtakes the
where Charles Leclerc is the only
car of Hulkenberg, who is still on used tires. So Hulkenberg now in 8th place. I mean Leclerc now in 8th place, and
excuse me, just had a bit of a cough.
yeah, off he goes behind,
Here we go. We are
chasing
on board with
the
Charles
rest of the
Leclerc
field.
at the moment as he
Now ahead
overtakes
of him
the
is Ollie Behrman, simply
car of
1.7 seconds
on
ahead
used
of the
tires.
Monegasque.
Hulkenberg now
We
in
are
8th
seeing a
place.
fight here between Alexander
Leclerc now in 8th
Albon
place.
and Franco
And
Colapinto for 15th position.
Yeah, off he goes.
Alex Albon
behind,
fighting with
chasing
Colapinto, doing his
the rest of the
switchback
field.
going into turn
Now ahead
15.
of
Will
him
he
is
get
Ollie
past
Behrman.
the Argentinian?
Simply
He goes for
1.7
another
seconds
switchback.
ahead of the Monegasque.
And let's see if he can benefit from the freshest tires that he's had, and he can. So Alexander Albon into 5th position ahead of Franco Colapinto as they go into lap 27. So let's see if he will be able to pull out a gap ahead of the Argentinian. And now we are getting a message, radio message from Max Verstappen saying that the tires are becoming tricky. And his engineer in response says that the conditions are changing a little bit. So
let's see if it will
I believe that is to do with wind as well as temperature. But they will no doubt surely think about pitting Max Verstappen soon. Lewis Hamilton has had a time deleted for exceeding track limits at turn 19. So he will need to mind that to not get a penalty.
with wind as well as temperature.
So, but they will no doubt surely think about pitting Max Verstappen soon. Max Verstappen now no longer setting any personal bests or session bests for that matter. His tires have dropped off, as you would expect after 28 laps of being beaten around this track. One thing I did want to mention is that it wasn't very sportsmanlike of Charles Leclerc to block Lewis Hamilton just before he pitted. He wasn't going to lose any time, really. Although I do understand he's racing Lando Norris, but he could have been a bit more friendly to his teammate.
One thing
who is not having the best of times.
Sportsmanlike.
But it appears that Charles Leclerc is now managing his tires to make them last till the end of the race. He's still running in the mid 139s, and Max is running in the low 140s. So about six times different in lap times, as we now see Pierre Gasly pitting into his pit box. Presumably about to switch for another soft to the soft tires if he is doing a faster strategy. If not, he will maybe put on, yes, he's put used softs, so 2 laps old, believe that's from qualifying session, into his pit box. And now let's see what he can do. Charles Leclerc not really setting the lap times on fire, as he has just overtaken Ollie Behrman, who didn't put up much of a fight. He knows that he's not racing him, so there is no point, and he's also on much older tires, so no point holding up the Monegasque on that occasion. 1.5 seconds behind Yuki Tsunoda, who is also on used tires. Let's see what will happen on this occasion. He will probably not make his life easy for Leclerc, but as we are seeing on the screen here, Pierre Gasly with a bit of a slow stop on the left rear tyre, which did not want to come off. But Yuki Tsunoda, as I was mentioning, about to encounter a fast-moving Charles Leclerc behind him. He will no doubt not make his life easy. But I believe that Charles Leclerc, with the superior and fresher tyres, will pass him with ease. As now Lance Stroll goes into the pits, getting rid of those 28-lap-old soft tyres, which will probably feel horrible. And about to. I actually believe that they could potentially
fresher tires will pass him with ease. As now Lance Stroll goes into the pits, getting rid.
So Lance Stroll jumps on a medium set of tires. I thought that he would have gone to the hards to get to the end of the race comfortably, but opted to go for the mediums. As we now see a battle between Yuki Tsunoda and Charles Leclerc. Yuki Tsunoda going deep into turn 11, which has opened the door for a switchback from Charles Leclerc, and with the superior grip, Charles Leclerc gets past Yuki Tsunoda quite easily. By the time that they get off turn 15 and into 16, 17 and 18, Charles Leclerc is already ahead of the Japanese driver by 7/10 of a second. So, and Yuki Tsunoda now pits to get off those old medium tires. Almost running into the wall of the pit lane, but off he goes. Getting off the medium tires, let's see what kind of a pit stop he's going to have. Somewhat a bit slower than usual, 3.4 seconds. Now jumping on a brand new set of softs. It will be tricky for him to get to the end, but it will provide useful information for the rest of the team to choose what tires to put his teammate on. So Yuki Tsunoda on brand new softs. Will he make it to the end? We heard Piastri's engineer asking him. It will be tricky for him to get to the end. But we heard Piastri's engineer asking Piastri if he thought about jumping on soft to get to the end of the race, and Piastri said that it would be difficult. So let's see how Yuki Tsunoda fares, unless he is going for a two-stop strategy. Of course, if there is a safety car, then that will throw a spanner in the works, where a lot of drivers will probably pit or try and eke the tires out all the way to the end. Now, interesting, George Russell within undercut range, and now McLaren have decisions to make. It's either, and I will swallow my words, because I was going to say it's either they box Piastri now or let George Russell box first, but it appears that McLaren are going to box Piastri and will be putting him on soft tires. It looks like a used set, so it will probably have a hard time trying to get those to the end, but he has a good pit stop, 2.3 seconds, and yes, a used set of soft tires, but he will probably have to make another stop, if I'm honest. I don't believe those will make the rest of the race distance. Although saying that, Lance Stroll did do 28 laps on his softs, so that is a very good possibility of those making it, but the pace will be very slow, if we're honest. But let's have a look at Piastri's outlap and the following lap after that, see if he can recoup that position from George Russell, as we are seeing the British driver lock up going into turn 11 and going very, very wide off that corner. So he locked up those front tires and he went off track. So losing a little bit of time there not helped him any further in his quest for keeping fourth place and chasing Hamilton for third. Now, Charles Leclerc with the fastest lap of the race with a 138.6. He is chasing George Russell at a pace, and they are currently 4.2 seconds away as Hamilton pits. So coming off those medium tires, also going onto a used set of softs, having a reasonably decent pit stop, 2.6 seconds, without any complications. He no doubt would have wanted that to be faster, but he will be happy that there have been no mistakes on any of the four tires. But let's have a look. Hamilton comes off the pits in 6th position with Nico Hülkenberg in front of him with a 31 lap old set of tires. So quite confident that he will probably overtake him quite quickly. And Kimi Antonelli pitting once again to come off those medium tires who have been on since the start of the race, now onto soft tires. So all the strategies being reversed, all the starting tires being reversed here. Now people jumping onto the softs. So they will most likely try to extend these softs all the way to the end, although I'm not exactly convinced that they will make it. They will have to manage the pace quite a lot, and it will be difficult for them. So Lando Norris is now asking to box, and he is boxing. So Lando Norris boxing, coming off those medium tires and putting on a used set of tires, used set of soft tires. So at the moment, only Max Verstappen has a brand new set of softs to use, which he saved from qualifying. And Lando Norris having actually a slow stop and putting on nearly 4 seconds, and a 4-second pit stop, as they're now going to box Max Verstappen, but he will come out ahead with no issues, I'm sure, which he saved from qualifying. And Lando Norris having Lando Norris with a slow stop, losing out to Charles Leclerc and George Russell. So that will be another fight happening again between those two. Let's see what the outcome will be. It will be interesting to see, because Leclerc is now on the mediums, which will last longer than Lando Norris' soft. So interesting to see that battle take place. That will be another fight. Lando Norris struggled between those two. So Lando Norris locked up coming onto turn 12, and he flat spotted the tires. So he was already struggling with a lot of grip, and hence why he asked to stop. Now Lando Norris setting the fastest sector 2 in 4th place. But like I was saying, it will be interesting to see the battle between Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, because Norris struggled to get past Charles Leclerc on used softs. So it'll be interesting to see how he's going to do when he's the one on used softs and Leclerc is on the mediums, which will have a better life in the long run. Now George Russell comes into the pits from 2nd place. He's already been passed by Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris now goes Lewis Hamilton, and Piastri will overtake him. So the order will be returned to how it was. Piastri now overtakes George Russell, and off he goes from 2nd place. He's already been passed by Charles Leclerc. So Hulkenberg 2.4 and Piastri will 2.4 second pit stop for Nico Hulkenberg, who is coming out. Not sure what tyres he's on. I believe those might be soft. So Hulkenberg 2.4 second pit stop for Nico Hulkenberg. So Hamilton with the fastest sector 1 at the moment, fastest man on the sector 1, whilst Kimi Antonelli's got the fastest sector 2 and sector 3. So interesting to see. Let's see if Hamilton will be able to claw back some positions. Whilst Kimi Antonelli's got the fastest sector so far, sector 3, I think. So seeing a midfield battle between Ollie Behrman and Yuki Tsunoda. The young rookie trying to get past Yuki Tsunoda, but Yuki Tsunoda making that very, very difficult for him. They've both pitted and they're both on used softs. Oh, and there was contact. And Ollie Behrman spins around. Oh, that was close. So Ollie Behrman was going for a move at the turn 15. But softs. Oh, and there was contact. Yeah, and Ollie Behrman spins around. He went for it. He went for it, but Yuki Tsunoda braked, closed the door, I believe. Just getting a look at the replay now. So Ollie Behrman going for a lunge, but Yuki Tsunoda shuts the door on him, which Behrman is then forced to go onto the gravel and loses the back end as he's come back onto the racing track. Just getting a look at the replay now. So Ollie Behrman going for a lunge, but Yuki Tsunoda might be in a little bit of trouble here because he moved under braking, which meant that Ollie Behrman had to swerve to take avoiding action. So no doubt that will be under investigation quite shortly, and there might be some repercussions for Yuki Tsunoda. Let's see what the stewards think and what kind of situation arises from that incident. No doubt that will be under investigation quite shortly. And interesting. Now, Lando Norris on the hunt and catching Charles Leclerc very quickly. Now, the gap is just 1.7 seconds between those two. So here we go, round 2 between Norris and Leclerc as Esteban Ocon overtakes Bortoleto for 14th position. 7 seconds between those two. So let's see what will happen this time around in round 2 between the Brit and the Monegasque. So just having a replay at Lando Norris's pit stop, which was slow, 3.8 seconds, remember. 14th position. The issue, I believe, was the front right, so let's see which there was a little bit of trouble getting it on and off. So, but he managed to get away with it and not suffer too much. He's now on the back of Charles Leclerc at 1.4 second gap. The front 3 runners just about on the same straight, with Max Verstappen 6.7 seconds out in the lead. Still very comfortable, managing his pace. No doubt that Red Bull will try and get those tires to the end. I believe that's what Max will. We didn't hear him complain about tires too much, but they had to pit him eventually to protect from an undercut. So still very comfortable managing his. Yeah, I think Max can afford to just control the pace and manage his tires, especially if Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris keep battling. They just keep opening the gap up for him as they did at the start of the race. At the moment, keeping steady at 6.5 to 6.7 seconds gap, and especially if it's Charles Leclerc. I just need to have a look here because there are a lot of at the moment keeping steady warnings. 6.5 to 6.7 seconds gap, and especially if it's Charles Leclerc. I just need to have a look here because there are a lot of. So I just want to see all of this here. Gap, and especially if Charles Leclerc. I just need to have a look here because there are. All right, here we go. So I just want to see all of this here. All right, here we go. So I just want to see all of this here. Okay. So just having a look at the. Perfect. Okay. So just having a look at the. Perfect. Okay. So just having a look at. Okay. So Charles Leclerc definitely under pressure from Lando Norris. But so
Charles Leclerc definitely.
Lando Norris needs to be very, very careful. He has already had 3 track limits warning, and now both Albon and Bortoleto getting the black and white flag. So one more of those, they will get a 5-second penalty. Neither of them want, I'm sure.
He has already had 3 track limits warning, and now both.
So here we go.
And
McLaren on the hunt from.
So one more of those, they will get a 5-second penalty.
Charles Leclerc still ahead of Lando Norris, but Lando Norris on the hunt now, just under 4 tenths behind him. McLaren on the hunt from.
So one more of those, they will get a 5.
Yeah. Now Lando Norris
Charles Leclerc
making good use of those softs at the moment, but he needs to hurry up because those softs will drop off eventually before Charles Leclerc's mediums do. So Lando Norris 6 tenths behind Charles Leclerc. He can try and make a move into turn 1, but he's too far back on this occasion. So 4 tenths of a second behind him before Charles Leclerc's mediums do. So Lando Norris 6 tenths despite chasing Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris holds the fastest sector 1 of the race.
But he's too far back on this occasion.
So making a lot of good gains. He just needs to turn that into an overtaking move.
So Lando Norris 6 tenths
Despite chasing Charles Leclerc,
Lando Norris
but yeah, Oscar Piastri nowhere in this race. He is 6 seconds away from Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton is 9 seconds away from Norris. So the top 6 are quite spread out, with the exception of Leclerc and Lando Norris, as they are going into turn 11. Lando Norris still behind Charles Leclerc and not able to overtake him. Meanwhile, the gap out in front, 6.9 seconds still. Max Verstappen controlling the field and the race very nicely. At this point, it is Max's race to lose. There is no immediate threat from behind, and if these two, Lando and Charles, start fighting, Max will just be able to pull a gap even more as the race goes on. Yuki Tsunoda still in 7th position even after the pit stop, so a very, very strong race for him, gaining 6 positions from the start of the race. Very, very strong start. Same for Lance Stroll, gained 7 positions from the start of the race, and a shame for Kimi Antonelli losing 7 positions.
Even after the pit stop,
So very, very tough race for the young rookie.
6 positions from the start of the race.
And now, very, very handy for Max Verstappen.
7 positions from the start of the race, and a shame for.
So if the race finishes as it is at the moment, Max Verstappen will be just 40 points away from Oscar Piastri. So as it stands, Oscar Piastri will gain 10 points and he will have 346 points in the driver's standings. Lando Norris will be on 329 after gaining 15 points as it stands. Max Verstappen with 306 with 5 races to go. So very, very interesting. And now Lando Norris already complaining that his soft tires are gone. 13 laps on those softs, and this is what I was saying earlier, that these soft tires would drop off very quickly and sooner than Charles Leclerc's tires, which are the mediums. So it is very, very good news for Charles Leclerc, but very bad for Lando Norris.
Very quickly.
I didn't think that he would overtake Charles Leclerc anyway. So it is certainly not with those tires.
But very bad. Very quickly.
I didn't think that he would overtake Charles Leclerc anyway.
So it is
certainly not with those tires.
But
So GP just Max's engineer just telling Max Verstappen that he will need to look out for his tires because Lando is already complaining about tires. Lando Norris tires are 14 laps old while Max Verstappen's are 9. So still a little bit
just,
of
Max's
a
just
few
telling Max
laps.
Verstappen that he will need to look out for his tires because Lando is already complaining about tires.
So yeah, Lando Norris feeling the effects of worn soft tires. And those must not feel great, especially when you're chasing another car with the dirty air. They get worn more and more quickly, so it must not be a pleasant experience for the drivers. Charles Leclerc doing a supreme job out in front. Now the gap between those two is increased a little bit. Lando Norris backed off slightly, perhaps to recharge and cool his car down a little bit. The gap is now at 1.3 seconds, so outside of the DRS range. I wonder if Charles Leclerc will see this and try to pull out a bigger gap from the McLaren. He is now outside of the DRS range, so it is good news for him. And with the aging soft tires on Lando Norris's car, let's see if he will be able to keep up or will have to pit again. There is a possibility that he will have to opt for the two-stop strategy by going on those softs. They take a beating here in Kota with all of those turns, so it wouldn't surprise me that Lando Norris would have to pit a second time. But we'll have to wait and see. There are still 14 laps to go, 15 laps to go, and yes, a lot of miles to go. So it wouldn't surprise me that Lando Norris. So interesting observation is that if the race terminates as it is, Nico Hülkenberg will climb 2 spaces in the championship into 9th position. Yes, a lot of miles. So very, very good result for him. This has been a great season considering the car that he's got. It's not a front-running car, but I believe that we can all say that he's had a good season this year.
In the championship,
so very, very happy for Nico Hülkenberg. So yeah, we can see Lando Norris's tires graining up, especially the front left opening up. So that will not feel like a pleasant experience for him. Max Verstappen in the lead, 6.8 tires, 6.8 seconds out in the lead, looking comfortable. And especially the front left opening up. Let's have a look. So Max Verstappen complaining about suddenly sliding a lot, so he's now also suffering from the worn soft tires. Let's see how he manages that. His engineer was telling him earlier that he needed to manage those tires. But there is already a band of graining appearing on the front left tire of Max Verstappen. So drivers here will struggle with the soft tires. Meanwhile, there are still 14 laps to go. Let's see how they will manage and if they will be able to hold it till the end of the race. Drivers here will struggle. It could be just a graining phase that maybe they will have to drive through this graining and the tires will somewhat recover their performance again slightly, but it all depends on whether they can manage and run with it or not. It will be tougher for Lando Norris because he is behind Charles Leclerc. Although the gap keeps opening up, Lando Norris is now 2.4 seconds ahead of behind Charles Leclerc. So could the Ferrari be pushing? So last lap, Charles Leclerc increased the gap by 0.2 on that last lap. So it could be that it could be that Charles Leclerc is pushing to get away from Lando Norris. And if we have a quick look at the sector times, let's have a look.
So it could be that it could be that Charles Leclerc is pushing to get away from.
So if we have a look at the times here,
And if we have
Charles Leclerc with a one
sector times, let's have a look. So
1/10 of a second clearer of Lando Norris in sector 1.
So if we have a look at the time,
Half a tenth clearer in sector 2. So we're looking at nearly 2/10 of a second already this lap. So it seems like Leclerc is pulling a gap between him and Lando Norris. So I believe that Charles Leclerc will be able to hold on to that podium, provided that there are no errors happening on his side as the driver. And also I believe that they will probably have to pit again,
So I believe
perhaps
that Charles Leclerc
on the McLaren pit wall, because those tires do not look good whatsoever. But let's see how it goes. We still have a few laps to go. And everything's been working well for Max Verstappen. So Antonelli with track limits warning.
Everything's been working well.
So he's now got the black and white flag. One more of those and he will get a 5-second pit stop.
So Antonelli with track limits warning.
Oscar Piastri, no threat whatsoever to Lewis Hamilton.
And he will get a
Wonder what has happened to the championship leader. He was running so well at the start of the season. He's been doing great all season long, and now all of a sudden seems to be struggling.
Wonder what is happening.
Just reading a chat here on WhatsApp with a few of the guys from the Lift and Coast podcast, which by the way you can listen to on Spotify. Everyone's saying that Ferrari playing a blinder with Leclerc's strategy, and yes, really true. They are doing very well.
Which by the way you can
So,
listen to on Spotify.
Doing very well, and now Lando Norris complaining about tires and his engineer just trying to keep him calm and cool and collected. So let's see if he can keep his third place, although Hamilton is still very far behind, so it is likely that he will be. He's 9 seconds behind, so no threat whatsoever from
So let's see if he can
from Hamilton on Norris.
place, although Hamilton is still very far.
Hamilton really in no man's land. There's no one in front of him, no one behind him,
No threat.
just him and his own race. Similar to Yuki Tsunoda,
From Hamilton.
he's also just cruising around in 7th place, 15 seconds away from Russell and nearly 6 seconds in front of Leclerc. So
his own race. Similar to Yuki Tsunoda.
So very good race for Yuki
15
Tsunoda.
seconds away from Russell and nearly 6 seconds in front of Leclerc. So similar to Yuki Tsunoda.
Interesting. I wonder what will
race for Yuki.
I wonder how this will all play into Oscar Piastri's mind going on to the final few races of the season. He is now not so comfortable anymore in front out in the championship.
Interesting. I wonder what
As it stands, if the race finishes as it is, Piastri will be 17 points ahead of Lando Norris. Certainly not as comfortable as he would have liked, because all that means is at Norris, all he needs is a second place and Piastri to DNF for Norris to take the lead of the championship. So not very, very comfortable for him, I would assume. Lewis Hamilton getting a track time limit warning and a track time lap deleted at turn 19. So that's the second to last corner of the racetrack, going wide, and got his time deleted. So he needs to be careful with those. He's currently on 2 warnings. So he just needs to mind those track limits. Second to last corner of the racetrack, going wide. As it stands, Lando Norris with 3 warnings. He's currently on 2. Gabriel Bortoleto, Hadjar Antonelli, and Alexander Albon, all with 3 track limit invalidations. And then followed by Lance Stroll, Colapinto, Hamilton, Piastri, Behrman with 2 track limits warnings, and Alonso, Leclerc, Ocon, and Russell with 1 track limits warning. So a few drivers out there needing to be a bit careful. Otherwise, they will face a 5-second penalty. So good that a few of them are not really battling or under threat. They just need to keep their concentration and focus up, and bring it home nice and safely. Now we have a midfield battle between Alonso, Lawson, and Stroll, all separated by just a couple of seconds, and they are all fighting for position. The 12th position. We have a midfield battle between Alonso, Lawson, and Stroll. So Lando Norris charging ahead once again onto the back of Charles Leclerc. I believe this is his last opportunity if he wants to get that podium position, that second place on podium. He is now 1.1 seconds behind Charles Leclerc. Let's see if he's got any more juice left in those tires to mount an attack on Leclerc. If he doesn't get this move done, I believe then that will be it, and Charles Leclerc will keep second position. But Charles Leclerc has been putting on a masterclass in defensive driving. So he is doing very, very well. Now, being told that Oscar Piastri might come under threat from George Russell. Currently, the gap under 3 seconds. So, and George Russell is catching with slightly fresher tires than Oscar Piastri has. So he will have to mind his back, Oscar Piastri, and otherwise he's got a fast approaching George Russell behind him. Then Oscar Piastri has. So the gap is currently 2.7 seconds and closing. So Oscar Piastri coming under threat on this final few stages of this race. So certainly a weekend, I wouldn't say a weekend to forget, but a weekend that he wishes would have gone better, no doubt. So he just needs to manage his pace, manage his tires, keep his head in the game, so that he does not lose that 5th position. Oscar Piastri cannot afford to drop any more points, nor to Verstappen or Norris. Speaking of Verstappen, he has edged out the gap a little bit more by 3 to 4 tenths, and the gap is now 7.1 seconds from Leclerc. So Max Verstappen has this race pretty much under control, barring any last minute
a little bit
mishaps in the race.
And the gap is now 7.1
So I'm not sure what is happening with the track.
has this race pretty much under control, barring any last minute
Just that. Here we go.
in the race. And the gap is now 7.1.
Here we go.
Sure
Okay.
what is happening
With
with
the
the
track.
track. Has this race
Right.
pretty much
So,
under control
Lando Norris now within DRS range, only half a second between those two.
in the race.
Now here we go for a third round. Will Lando Norris be able to overtake Charles Leclerc this time around, or will Charles Leclerc win that battle once
So,
again?
Lando
We
Norris now
are
within
close to
DRS
finding
range,
out,
only half a
but
second
Lando Norris
between
needs to
those
get a
two.
move on because the race
here we
is
go for-
close to finishing as well.
Now here we go for a third
So-
round. Will Lando Norris be able to overtake
Yeah.
Charles Leclerc, this
Leclerc
time around?
is starting
Or
to
will
struggle.
Charles
Lando
Leclerc
Norris
win
now going
that
for a dive into turn one and getting the move
are
done, but
close
Charles
to
Leclerc goes for a switch back and takes the
Lando
place
Norris
back.
needs to get a move on because
Okay.
the race is close
There was
to
an attack,
finishing as
the
well.
first
Here we go
attack,
for a third. So
having a go
will
at Charles
Lando
Leclerc
be
in turn one, which we had not seen before. It's all been into turn 12. So that was a warning shot for Leclerc. Leclerc was compromised coming out of the final turn as he missed the apex and struggled for grip. But now, Charles Leclerc is under pressure from Lando Norris. Let's see, they're going down the back straight. Lando Norris gets a good exit now on the slipstream and DRS open. He will no doubt have a dive down onto the inside, even despite Leclerc has closed the door. Lando Norris gets ahead of Charles Leclerc, but Charles Leclerc is not giving up this fight. He's trying to switch back and fight for position. Let's see what will happen, because this fight is definitely not done yet. But Lando Norris cooled his tires nicely to mount this attack. Now let's see what he can do. 4 tenths ahead already of Charles Leclerc in just a few corners. However, Charles Leclerc is still within DRS range.
Let's see what will happen.
He will just need to make sure that he can stay in DRS range.
But as Lando Norris cooled his tires,
So Charles Leclerc just needs to make sure that he can keep the pressure up and that he can mount an attack into that back straight coming off turn 11. Now the Ferrari pit wall just telling Charles Leclerc to keep the pressure on, because Lando Norris has 3 strikes and they are right. One more mistake and Lando Norris will get a black and white flag followed by a 5-second penalty. So interesting. Let's see. So just having a look at the replay, Charles Leclerc pushed Lando Norris onto the dirty part of the racetrack, offside the racing line, but Lando Norris kept his foot in and managed to get in. Now Lando Norris has managed to break DRS. So Charles Leclerc struggling very much indeed on these last stages of this race. And now Lando Norris manages to get another 3 points in the championship battle, and with this alteration in positions, Oscar Piastri will have 346 points unchanged. However, Lando Norris with 332 points, separating the two drivers by 14 points. So it is getting very, very close. So yeah, Oscar Piastri, my friend, you need to up your game once again if you want to win that championship come the end of Abu Dhabi. Isaac Hadjar able to get ahead of Pierre Gasly for 16th position. No points there for grabs, but he will want to keep a hold of that position nonetheless. So, Charles Leclerc has dropped off massively from Lando Norris. Norris now pulling a gap of 2.7 seconds. 2.7 seconds in less than 1 lap
keep a hold of that position
and Charles Leclerc seemingly with no pace left to fight back from Lando Norris. I did not see that coming. I was expecting Lando Norris to struggle more and not Leclerc, so completely the other way around. Lando Norris will... I think there will be sort of damage limitation for the Lando Norris, and he will, happily take that second place.
I did not see
all things considered, it's enabling him to get closer to his teammate in the championship and lessen the gap more than by another 3 points.
I think there will be sort of damage limitation.
So Max Verstappen comfortably in the lead at 8.6 seconds gap, coming up to some back markers on the start finish straight, those being Bortoleto, Colapinto and Gasly. They will have to get out of the way and respect the blue flags to avoid a penalty, but they still have a couple of seconds between them. The blue flags have not been waved out just yet, but they will no doubt start getting those notifications very, very soon. So
to avoid a penalty,
they need to pay attention to that, and respect those flags when they do start flashing on their screen.
But they will no doubt start getting those notifications very, very soon.
So
to avoid a penalty,
8.4 seconds is the gap between Verstappen and Lando Norris, and 4.4 seconds is the gap between Norris and Leclerc, and Lewis Hamilton fourth place at 11 seconds.
But they will no doubt start getting those notifications very, very soon.
So Colapinto being told to manage positions and hold positions as they are managing, but now that is putting him under threat from the attack of Bortoleto. So Alpine need to be very careful here because they risk themselves losing positions. So very frustrating for Franco Colapinto. He is saying that he's got a bit more pace than his teammate and is eager to get ahead, but his team have told him to hold position. Let's see if he will hold. Now, Gabriel Bortoleto getting blue flags to get out of the way for Max Verstappen, and Franco Colapinto diving down the inside on his teammate in turn 1. No team orders being respected here, and Franco Colapinto gets ahead of his teammate, disregarding team orders. So he makes the move despite the team orders being thrown his way. Franco Colapinto gets the move done, but for no points, merely pride. No points awarded for 17th and 18th. Meanwhile, Gabriel Bortoleto will lose out the most on that battle as he had to yield for the leader Max Verstappen. And we're just getting a replay here. He did very, very nice move at the top of the hill into turn 1. But Gasly had to be cautious not to have a collision between the two teammates. We had mentioned earlier George Russell in the hunt of Oscar Piastri, but that hunt seems to have come to an end because the gap has opened up to 3.7 seconds between George Russell and Oscar Piastri. So I believe that Piastri will conserve that 5th place and come home with the 10 points. Now we are seeing Max Verstappen starting his final lap of the race, led from start to finish. Very controlled race, very comfortable race for the Dutchman, who is in the hunt for his 5th World Championship title. So let's see what happens in the final races of the season. We all know that Max Verstappen is not going to go down without a fight, and he will no doubt remain on the hunt of those two McLarens.
what happens in the final races of the season.
The gap now,
Verstappen is not going to go down without a fight.
the gap now,
And
as it
he
stands,
will, no doubt,
it is just
remain
40
on
points
the hunt
between
of those
Max
two
Verstappen
McLarens.
and Oscar Piastri in first
So,
place on the gap now, first place in this World Drivers' Championship.
The gap now, as it stands,
And it is, we do have to say that
it
Red
is
Bull have
just
made
40
a lot
points
of improvements to that
between
car.
Max Verstappen and
Who would have
Oscar
thought that we would be
Piastri in
talking
first
about Max
place
Verstappen,
on
a championship contender,
the gap
for his fifth world title at the beginning of the season, when McLaren looked so dominant? But now he comes home to finish 7.7 seconds
Who would
ahead
that we would be talking about Max Verstappen,
of
a championship contender
for
his
McLaren.
fifth world title
Wow.
at the beginning of the season, when McLaren looked so dominant. But now he comes
Piastri all of a sudden hunting
7.7
Piastri all of a sudden hunting Hamilton, but I believe it is too late. Max Verstappen takes the win, followed by Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc takes that final spot position. Lewis Hamilton will come home in fourth place, and Oscar Piastri comes home in fifth. So Oscar Piastri unable to overtake Lewis Hamilton, and George Russell unable to chase and overtake Oscar Piastri. So we still have a
fourth place, and Oscar Piastri comes home in fifth.
we still have a fight going on
Unable to overtake Lewis Hamilton
for 10th place, but I believe Alonso has it covered and he will take the points.
Overtake Oscar Piastri.
So here we go. Hulkenberg takes P8, Behrman takes P9. Very good race for Ollie Behrman, and Alonso in 10th place. It's a shame for Kimi Antonelli that he paid the price for the collision with Carlos Sainz, and he takes the fastest lap, but unfortunately he was outside of the points, so no points for him. Shame for Antonelli, shame for Sainz. But it is racing, sometimes it happens.
He paid the price for
And on the radio with Max Verstappen,
but unfortunately
very good race from him.
So no points for him.
Shame
for
saying that it was a great weekend and great job from everyone.
Sometimes it happens.
Surprised he hasn't said his trademark sentence, simply lovely.
Very good race from him.
It was a very good.
Saying that
Very good race for Max Verstappen. Complete domination. To be honest, from the weekend, since the weekend's begun, he was just on it. That Red Bull has had a lot of improvements. We know that they've had some upgrades,
very good.
and those have translated into performance gains. So very good race for him.
To be honest, from the weekend.
So 40 points is the difference between Oscar Piastri and Max Verstappen,
and those have translated into performance
and
gains.
only 14 points between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. So the fight, although it seems like a big gap, the fight is still very much alive, at least between those first three guys.
And
So-
only 14 points between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris.
So that's your final grid.
It seems like
Verstappen P1, Norris P2, Leclerc in third place, completing the podium. Lewis Hamilton in fourth position, Oscar Piastri, the championship leader, in fifth place, George Russell sixth, Yuki Tsunoda seventh, Hulkenberg in eighth, Ollie Behrman ninth, Alonso 10th, rounding up the top 10 with points. Liam Lawson 11th, Lance Stroll 12th, Antonelli 13th, Albon in 14th place, followed by Esteban Ocon in 15th, Hadjar 16th, Colapinto 17th, Gabriel Bortoleto 18th, Pierre Gasly in 19th, and Carlos Sainz with a DNF. So that is your final grid. And in the constructors, the positions have remained unchanged. McLaren obviously winning the constructors championship this season already. Mercedes in second place in the fight against Ferrari for the second position. Ferrari in third place. The gap between those two is just 7 points. So both teams very, very much needing points. However, we've got Red Bull Racing 3 points behind Ferrari, so the fight for second place in the Constructors' Championship is still very much alive and very, very tight. So you've got McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, followed by Williams, best of the rest. However, we've got Racing Bulls in 6th place, Aston Martin 7th, Kick Sauber in 8th, Haas F1 team in 9th, and Alpine bottom last. P10. Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, followed by Williams, so best of the rest. That has been Austin in 6th place, the Austin Grand Prix. Martin 7th. It was quite an enjoyable race. Seeing Max Verstappen having taking off his that has been racing helmet and getting ready for the podium celebrations. An enjoyable race. So very, very good. Let's see what will happen in the next races. Obviously, Mexico is up next. Let's see what will happen. It's a very tough track on the cars because of the high altitude. So certainly reliability and car performance will come into play. This is a very crucial part at the end of the season. So yeah, interesting to see what will happen and who is going to win this championship. Car performance so come into play. This is a very crucial part. We have Mexico next week at the Mexico City Grand Prix. So very, very good stuff. So what we have Mexico next week at the Mexico City Grand Prix. So very, very good stuff. So what we have Mexico next week at the Mexico City Grand Prix. So interesting how they're discussing the we have Mexico next week. So now they're just discussing the McLaren situation. And it'll be tricky. So we got a few documents here from the FIA. Carlos Sainz summoned to the stewards for causing a collision. So he will be discussing that and potentially incurring a penalty for his troubles. We got a few documents here from the FIA. That will probably not be summoned to the stewards. That won't be very fun for the smooth operator. Kimi Antonelli also summoned to the stewards to discuss that incident that he had. And now Max just doing the post-race interview saying how he had a decent race and he managed the race after getting that good gap at the start. So very, very good race for Max Verstappen. Very cool.
And now Max just
Yeah.
doing the post
race of his own,
how
quite literally.
He had a
So
decent race,
Yeah.
and he managed the race after getting that good gap at the start. So very good race for Max Verstappen.
So
Very cool. And now Max just
Yeah.
doing the post
race of his
saying
own,
how
quite literally.
He had a
So
decent race,
Yeah.
and he managed the race after getting that good
So
gap
on
at
to
the
now
start.
someone to the stewards.
So very good race for Max Verstappen.
So
Very cool. And now Max just
Yeah.
doing the post
race of his own, quite literally.
He had a
So
decent race,
Yeah.
and he managed the race after getting that
So
good gap
on
at
to
the
now
start.
someone to the stewards.
So very good race for Max Verstappen.
So
Very cool.
so these are the standings after this race, and
The race of his own, quite literally. So decent race, and he managed the race after getting
so
that
on to now someone to the stewards.
very
So Norris just talking about the. So these are the standings after this race, and so Norris just talking about how he had to back off pushing the tires so hard when he came out the pits because of the
So Norris
overheating.
just talking about
But
so these are the standings
Yeah.
after this race, and
he managed to get a good start on those
talking about how
and just
he
managed them.
had
And then
to,
after he went
back
for
off
an attack
pushing the
on
tires
Charles
so hard
Leclerc,
when he came out the
which
pits.
obviously paid
Because of
off
the
because he came home
overheating.
to finish in second place.
But
But yeah, that
he
was
managed
Austin,
to get a good,
Texas.
to get a good start.
It
on
was
those,
it was a good
and
race,
managed
very
them,
interesting.
and then after he
Um,
went for an attack on Charles
there were some
Leclerc,
good battles
which
throughout.
obviously paid off because he came home.
At
to
least this
finish
week
in
we
second
didn't
place.
get to see any of the
But
the drivers'
yeah,
girlfriends, which
that
is
was
what we
Austin, Texas.
what we wanted to see or not
it
see,
was a good race,
shall I say?
Very interesting.
So very
There were some
good
battles throughout.
improvement indeed.
At least this week we
So-
didn't get to see any of the
Now
drivers' girlfriends. Which
very
is what we
very
Texas
interesting
wanted
to
see or not see.
see
shall I say.
how it's gonna go
So very
later
good
today,
improvement
later in the season. Sorry.
So
So now
drivers' girlfriends. Which
very
is
very
what we
interesting
wanted
to
see or not
see
shall I
how
say.
it's
Just
gonna go.
So
Trying to have
very
some more
later today improvement later in the
things
season.
to
Sorry.
show you guys.
So
Now very very interesting to see how it's just
More
expressive
trying
PS3
to
to have some more
today
so
later in the
things
season.
to
Sorry.
show you guys.
Huge moment in the race for Charles Leclerc and
So here we go. This was the first move that
More expressive PS3.
this is the move that got Lando Norris P2 in this race. I'll just show that on the used. He managed to get
This was before they put
a good run off that, and we can have a look at the start on
off that.
So you can see here Lando Norris was so focused on battling.
and gets the launch is underway.
So we see the start of the race here. Actually, I'll even move it all the way to the start. So we'll see here the first thing that Max Verstappen does is move over to the left-hand side to cover Lando Norris. Lando Norris follows him for the slipstream, closing the door on anyone else trying to come up the inside, but he leaves the outside completely open for someone like Charles Leclerc to come over completely. Look at that. He's got miles of track there.
Verstappen gets the launch off the line.
So Charles Leclerc does a smart thing, opens up the corner. He knows that these two will get bunched up into turn one.
Leads and chops
So he opens up the corner so he can have a better rotation through. And you can see Lando Norris gets bunched up behind Max Verstappen,
P2
and he gets compromised. He tries to do a overtake from happening. So very, very good driving from Charles Leclerc.
Inside off turn two, and he almost got the better of Verstappen, but Verstappen
That was very, very good. so sort of overtake from happening. That was Texas, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for sticking with me throughout this stream, and I will see you guys in Mexico. It has been a pleasure. I've been Gonzalo. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching and listening. It really does mean a lot. And I will see you guys next time. And until then, race to the finish line. Mexico. Goodbye. It has been a pleasure. I've been Gonzalo. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching and listening. It really does mean a lot. And I will see you guys next time. And until then, race to the finish line. Mexico. Goodbye. It has been a pleasure. I've been Gonzalo. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching and listening. It really does mean a lot.